You're listening to Late Night Radio on the SHR Media Network. Caution, there will be mature themes explored and potentially adult language used. If conservatarian words, phrases, certain concepts, or rhetoric offends you, tune out now.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
I'm pushing them back from the saloon to the airwaves. I'm spitting it raw. Constitution's my compass, liberty's law. Big gods creeping, shadows on the land. Feds with the schemes trying to bind up my hands. But I'm the Sherpa, guiding through the storm. Red, white, and blue, yeah, freedom's reborn. They spin their tails, but I see through the haze. Media maggots, lost in the maze. I'm calling it out, no fear in my soul. This patriot's fire ain't losing control. Conservative Sherpa leading the fight. Torch in the dark, burning bright in the night. Stand for the truth, won't bow to the game. Sherpas, come and remember my name. Sherpas rising. Freedom's calling. Let this judge is twisted, trying to steal our rights, but I'm locked and loaded, got them in my sights. From J6 to the border, they're selling us out. I'm screaming from the mountain, hear my rebel shout. They mock the flag, but I'm holding it high. Stars and stripes forever under God's open sky. No globalist chains gonna cage this land. I'm the Sherpa with the truth in my hand. They push their agenda, but I'm breaking the mold. Their promises empty, their hearts ice cold. Chicago's bleeding, borders torn apart. I'm fighting for the people with the warrior's heart. Conservative Sherpa leading the fight. Torch in the dark, burning bright in the night. Stand for the truth, won't bow to the game. Sherpas, come and remember my name. Sherpas rising. I've seen the storms, I've walked the line. 41 years, badge on the grind, now I'm on the air. My voice like a blade, cutting through the lies that the traitors made. Hurricanes rage, but we're standing tall. Sheriffs of the Constitution answering the call. From the saloon to the heart of the fray, we're taking back America, no more delay. Conservative Sherpa leading the fight. Torch in the dark, burning bright in the night. Stand for the truth, won't bow to the game. Sherpas, come and remember my name. Sherpas rising. The static, hear my voice resound. Conservative Sherpa, freedom's battleground. Berserk Bobcat rolls will never kneel. For God and country, this fight is real.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, where I'm broadcasting from North Idaho in an actual free state. I am the guy called the Conservative Sherpa. I'm guiding you through the maelstrom of Democrat, leftist, and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal, just like it says down there. Please note that for the next hour, you're going to hear what consists of my opinions and my opinions only. And this is going to be an abbreviated show because for whatever reason, the GI tract of BZ is not cooperating right now. So I'll probably end up doing a half show and then a half show probably on Thursday night, or with luck, a full show on Thursday night. So I'm trying to make sure that I can at least get through an hour of the show. That would be really nice. Gonna try. I decided, instead of just calling in sick, so to speak, I decided, okay, well, let's just push and see if we can get through the doggone show. Tonight, the show is going to be about this, and perhaps a portion of that is going to be rolled over onto Thursday. Because politicians are excreted. They're pond scum. They are, and I got the inspiration for this show from Cicero. Long time ago, in galaxy far, far away, Cicero said, politicians, they're not born, they're excreted. And I have to be completely honest. Yeah, I totally believe that. Also, if you would, and you want to be in the chat room is here for you to get into. This is what our current chat room looks like. I brought back the big, hairy, fluffy Sasquatch pillow, where depending upon where it is that you sit, you can be enfolded by his arms or his legs or the arm on the back of the sofa. It's really comfy, and you can partake of that chat room right there, but only if you wish. To those folks who are here tonight, thank you so kindly. I will repeat this simply because in about a minute or so, I'm going to have something that absolutely staggered me. It stems from the Carousel of Amusing Gerp, which is something like this. You've seen it, you've known it, you've loved it all these years. This is where I put in things that are just completely, they're weird. And sometimes I get great videos. Well, this is a video that when I first heard it, I thought, no, this can't be right. There's no way that this is right. This is from 1967. And particularly knowing that, I thought, oh, this definitely can't be right. Also, update with Jake. Jake he goes up, he goes down. Jake has been doing remarkably well the past week. He's been eating cookies and milk at night. He's been glomming onto hot dogs. He'll drink water towards the beginning or the middle of the day. NMI, not much interested, but towards the end of the day and the night, then he really gets active. So Jake is doing better these days, which is really a great thing as far as I and others are concerned. And well, let's start with the Carousel of Amusing Gerp with a video. And also we're going to go into some election results. And perhaps you're wondering, election results? What the hell are you talking about? Well, I have two videos to play. The first one, this is real. And, I wish I knew the circumstances around this, but I don't. This actually aired in the Bay Area in 1967.
Magazines, you've read it in the newspapers. In fact, perhaps you've even seen the owner's picture. Ralph Williams, the owner of Bayshore Chrysler Plymouth, 345 El Camino Real in the city of San Bruno. You notice the big bald-headed son of a bitch? The man that came to San Francisco to offer them more for the dollar they spend. The man that came to San Francisco to rape each and every citizen in the whole San Francisco Bay Area. You don't believe it? Listen to me. I don't lie. Take a fucking car like this. A 1966 Ford, a Country Squire 9-factor station wagon. Don't worry about the equipment. Imagine all the fun you can have in the back. And while you're doing it, imagine all the money that bald-headed prick Ralph Williams is going to be making on the car he's trying to fuck you out of. Yes, the man that'll take every dime out of the San Francisco Bay Area and spend it on prostitutes, booze, and, of course, crap tables in the city of Las Vegas. I'm sure you've heard about it. So remember this. If you'd like to get fucked and hooked real hard before you buy a car, come down here. Let Ralph Williams do it. Why not? Why not somebody else? Remember, our address is 345 El Camino Real in the city of San Bruno, but If you come from Marin County, East Bay Area, or San Jose, your money spends just as well as anybody else's. And when this bald-headed son of a bitch gets hold of you, you will spend money. Talking about payments, 5 years payments of $100 a month. You can't get even. So shop before you buy. Bayshore, Chrysler Plymouth.
That was a real video. Well, at the time it went out on TV. It wasn't a video. And when I saw that, I thank God I saw it and got all my laughs out, because right now the stomach muscles. Yeah, I actually do have muscles in my stomach. It's a very bizarre concept to even remotely think about. And then there's a video that I found that illustrates a lot about the SPLC. I might have to start it here in just...
Your numbers are way down. Not sure if we can keep you on payroll anymore. Please, it's been really tough. No one is really racist anymore. People confuse nooses for the pull rope on a garage door. We're trying. Please, don't make me have to go live in my parents' basement again. All right, I'll give you another chance. Don't even ask about those other folk I got to visit next. So entitled with all their ongoing medical needs.
And that was the SPLC. That was a video that I happened to dredge up just recently. Also, there was this. I saw this Monday morning, I think, from Rick Robinson of KLRN. And please, as I say customarily, if you would, please don't tax the Rick. Also, if you would, subscribe to the SHR Media YouTube channel. We now have over 1,450 subscribers. We're shooting for 1,500 subscribers. If you go to YouTube, by the way, please, if you would, click on that bell so that you get notified of all of the shows that we have. And also, where I was going is this. Thanks to KLRN's Rick Robinson for simulcasting the show tonight. And it is from that individual, Rick Robinson, that I got this. Now, it's not necessarily stealing if you acknowledge that you stole it from somebody, but this is endemic all throughout the internet, and likely you've already seen it. But this was a United Airlines 767-400 coming in to, I believe it was Newark. And at Newark Airport, if you're not already familiar with Newark, it's been shut down any number of times by the FAA. It's understaffed, overworked. The equipment is execrable. It's old. They've had their radars go down. It's generally not what pilots would consider to be the finest airport in the world. Now, that having been said, there's a guy here that's in a bread truck. And you're going to see this bread truck get struck by the landing trucks of the 767 of United Airlines. Now, let's just play it. I'll play it a couple of times. It's about 30 seconds. I marvel. I cannot not marvel that this guy wasn't killed. Then listen, he looks.
Holy fuck. Oh my goodness. That thing hit that. Look, you see all that wind? Oh my goodness.
So let's watch it one more time. I'm going to let it replay again. The sound, he saw it, then he heard it. Listen.
Holy fuck. Oh my.
That's an amazing guy. That's a lucky guy. After that, that's the guy that should have gone to Las Vegas, or he should have played lotto. He probably would have won. I find that completely astounding. Before we start into the meat of the show, also, I want to go here. Now, there are some races that are being held, various primaries, etc., in Indiana and Ohio. And if you want to go and see what's happening, you can go to Red State. It's election day in Indiana and Ohio. One of the races has already pretty much been taken care of, and that's this Vivek Ramaswamy in Ohio.
Field would be set in the pivotal Ohio governor's race. ABC News projects that businessman and former presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy will win the Republican nomination and will face Dr. Amy Acton, the Democratic nominee and former Ohio Department of Health director, in November. And in the Ohio Senate race that could help determine control of the chamber, Republican John Husted will face off against former Senator Sherrod Brown. ABC News projects Brown, who lost his seat in 2024, will be the Democratic nominee in November. Field would be set in the...
So that's what's going on right now. There's a little bit of an update. And if you are in Indiana or if you are in Ohio, you'll want to know about this. In these contested races, Indiana State Senate, one Republican primary. Looks like Trevor DeVries is winning. District 6, James Starkey is winning. Also in District 11, Brian Schmutzler, great name, Brian Schmutzler. District 19, Blake Fichter. You guys are testing me. You guys in Ohio and Indiana are testing me. District 21, Tracy Powell. Indiana State Senate 23 Republican primary, Spencer Deary, and Senate 38 Republican primary, Greg Good. In 41 Republican primary, Michelle Davis. And in the U.S. House, District 1, Barb Regnitz looks like she's going to be winning, GOP. District 4, not quite in yet. House 4 Republican primary, GOP, Jim Baird. And in Ohio, Republican Governor Mike DeWine is he's going to be term limited out, and Vivek Ramaswamy is likely going to win the primary for there. And in the House, Democrat primary, Greg Landsman, Democrat, won. In House 1 Republican, Eric Conroy, won, GOP. And Ohio House 9 Republican primary, GOP, Derek Martin. So that's about all I have the time for, and probably the voice to announce at this point. I want to go now, if I can, over to this. And there were a couple of stories that I saw in the past couple of days that made me absolutely disgusted. And concomitant with this quote that I discovered from Cicero, I thought, well, absolutely 100% applicable to what's going on today. And it also made me wonder, when is this coming? Or is it coming? Because as we know, leftists are pushing for this, and they have been pushing for quite some time. So let me start a little bit at the start. This was a story that I wanted to hit it on Sunday with Rick Robinson, and I sort of glossed over it. And this is a bit of a warning to Democrats. Now, those of you who don't know Barney Frank is dying. I believe he has, I'm not sure what kind of a cancer he has, but he was responsible a great deal for the 2008 plummeting of the housing market. He was one of the gentlemen that said, I think we should give loans. As a matter of fact, why don't we just mandate that lenders provide loans to people that they know cannot pay? And then the lenders made buku buccarinis off of idiots who thought that they could step into a McMansion when in fact they couldn't. That's an entire story for another day. 2008, 2009, that's when everyone said, well, it's just too big to fail. And BZ said, there is no such animal, let it fail. So they propped up everything. However, that said, Barney Frank says, and as I'm usually want to say myself, I'm just going to gloss over this article. If you want to go deeper into this particular article, go to my Rumble channel, BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show on Rumble, where I display all my show links, all my articles, all my videos. I don't do that on YouTube because there just isn't room on YouTube to do that. But essentially, Barney Frank, as he's dying, has said something similar to, you know what, Democrats, you'd better wise up because things are not looking all that well for you. So I began to think, how did this occur? Where did this come from? How did this insanity spread? Because I'm sure that a great number of you would agree. There's just a ton of insanity going on right now. So where did it come from? It came from education. And I use that word loosely. Education, air quotes. In the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s. And essentially what it did in a good deal of public schools is create stupid, non-thinking, miseducated, ignorant, brainwashed, and propagandized kids, just as was intended. And I said in the 80s, because I noticed this as a cop in the 70s, in the 80s, a little bit in the 70s, much more in the 80s. I said, I cannot believe it. I'm looking around, I'm going to calls in patrol, and the greatest thing that I'm noticing is that our schools look like prisons, and our prisons are starting to look like schools. That's when I knew that our education system was terribly out of whack. Now, this is about a 2.5, maybe a 3-minute video that I'm going to play the bulk of so that I have a background and a foundation for what the heck is going on. This is an individual named Charlotte Iserbyt. She's I think a senior policy advisor at the Department of Education, the U.S. Department of Education at the time. And she says, 25 years ago, I saw all this crap coming. So let's listen to her.
You're saying they're brainwashing. Okay, you're saying these people that are experts in brainwashing is using the Department of Education to brainwash our children.
Yes.
What are they after? Why are they doing it?
Well, if you want to move a country from a free individualistic economy,
Which we have.
yes, or had,
Or had, okay.
to a planned economy, you have to do it through the schools. You have to dumb down and brainwash, change the attitudes and values. You have to completely, social engineering has to go on constantly. And many teachers know what I'm talking about. And people are going to say, well, when did this start? And who on earth ever did this? Why would a plan like that be allowed to be carried out?
That's right.
Well, then you have to go back to 1934, which I will do, and we have to go to the three-pronged fork, okay? So I do think that the watershed year, although you can go back to the early part of the century when the Rockefeller Foundation and the Carnegie Corporation were deeply involved in education, and that it was decided then that Carnegie would deal with the international part and Rockefeller domestic. They commissioned the American Historical Association to...
Okay, if you don't know who Rockefeller was or Carnegie, look it up. You might be a little surprised.
put together a study of the social studies, and they came up with lots of volumes, but I have one little volume, Conclusions and Recommendations for the Social Studies. And basically that little one is an original book. I wish I'd brought it with me. Too bad, but I don't even dare let it out of the house. It's so important. It called for changing the United States through the schools from a free individualistic economy to a socialist, collectivized, planned economy in the New World Order.
It says that in the book.
Yes.
And that book was written when?
In 1934.
By who?
And when is this video? 1980. Hey, you've never heard that phrase before, have you? New World Order.
Who? It was the Carnegie Corporation paid for it. The American Historical Association put it together.
Who said that? First, which president?
And
Can people get that book in the library?
no. No, they can't. They were very instrumental in getting the Elementary and Secondary Education Act passed, which, as I said before, changed education from knowledge, content-based, academic, to performance-based behavior. And from that time on, because that was necessary for what we're looking at now with school to work agenda is the planned economy is performance-based.
So they're training workers.
They're training
not
little
thinkers, not
worker-based.
leaders.
Exactly. At that time, you had a general, Buck Chisholm, a Canadian general psychiatrist, who was a very close friend of Alger Hiss's. And he gave a speech.
Oh my. If you don't know who Alger Hiss is, you most def need to go into your favorite internet search engine and discover.
In 1945 to the World Health Organization, which basically recommended getting rid of the conscience.
Wow.
Yes. And he said we would do it through the schools. We would retrain the teachers to be little psychiatrists. He said it is an international system they're looking at. They're going to change the behavior of the children. They're going to change the teachers' training. They're going to do everything. He told them everything.
And they didn't believe him?
No, they just, well, you know what goes on.
Well, you know what goes on. Well, that is what I consider to be the predicated foundation upon all the rest of the crap that's been happening directly in front of our faces, so to speak. Then I have a video of John Kerry. And tonight, as far as I can stay here, I'm going to try to stay at least an hour, maybe a second hour. No guarantee. But this is why I absolutely, most definitely despise politicians. They're excreted, just as Cicero said. They're not born, they come to us from the sewer, and they spew filth. And frequently there isn't a dime's worth of difference between them. And I am going somewhere with this show. With luck, I'll be able to finish it tonight. John Kerry was at the WEF, and that's the World Economic Forum. Those are all the globalists. Klaus Schwab et al. And he says, John Kerry, who is a massive globalist, and of course, an insane politician, an insane leftist, talks about the First Amendment. Now, he's talking about your rights, kids. And as far as he is concerned and globalists are concerned, this is their foundation as well.
And I think the dislike of and anguish over social media is just growing and growing and growing. And it's part of our problem, particularly in democracies, in terms of building consensus around any issue. It's really hard to govern today. You can't, there's no, the referees we used to have to determine what's a fact and what isn't a fact, are kind of, been eviscerated to a certain degree.
Who started that? Who created that? Well, I hope I'm here long enough to be able to illustrate a good deal of that for you tonight. Politicians who have, you're not even a mere molecule in their brain. It's all about them. They're narcissistic, they're sociopathic. Their job is to enrich and embiggen their own personal wallets. And they will stand and walk all over the bodies, alive or dead, necessary to be able to do that. Your First Amendment has got to go because it's very inconvenient for globalists.
And people go and that people self-select where they go for their news or for their information.
Okay. I speak leftist, so I'll translate. These people want you to read one source. They don't want you to have a wide variety, a smorgasbord, a buffet of sources from which to select. Because if you look at a wide variety of sources, no. What are you trying to do? Become a critical thinker? What's wrong with you?
And then you just get into a vicious cycle. So it's really, really hard, much harder to build consensus today than at any time in the...
Okay, stop. Again, whose consensus? Who decides the consensus? Well, it's them. It's not you. No one gives a shit about you. You're just a prole. You're just a serf. You're a groundling. You're something to be used like a tool, like a bad bloody Kotex. And when they're through and it's still dripping, you're still dripping your blood, they'll throw you away.
45, 50 years I've been involved in this. And there's a lot of discussion now about how you curb those entities.
Okay, curb, censor those entities. Anything they don't like, anything that doesn't correspond strictly to the lane that they happen to be in as leftists and globalists. Yes, they're partly leftists, but these guys, like this dickweed, is a massive globalist. Yet, he doesn't mind flying private jets everywhere, spewing tons of carbon into the atmo because he is more important. Him getting to a conference is more important than you pissy little guys in the bottom. You're just nothing, but I walk over you.
In order to guarantee that you're going to have, some accountability on facts, et cetera. But look, if people go to only one source and the source they go to is sick.
Wait, that's just what he said. He wants consensus. I again speak leftist, so I'll translate. He wants sole source media information. Then he just excoriates it. Well, only sole source if the philosophy and the mindset is concomitant with his.
And, has an agenda, and they're putting out disinformation. Our First Amendment stands as a major block to the ability to be able to just,
Our First Amendment stands as a major block to do what we want. Now, as if you haven't sussed up by now, I'm not going to be going on a break, at least at the bottom. Maybe if I'm still lasting by the top of the hour, I will. And I'm just going to kind of play it minute by minute. But you need to understand how these people are thinking, and you need to understand how we got here. And that's one major route right there. The Bill of Rights, it's not for them. Because the biggest problem with the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, maybe by the break, if I'm still going to hang around by the top of the hour, I'll bring you that convo between Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the one the leftists loved. And she said, and I will continue to pound this out so that people understand. She said, if I were going to create a constitution for another country, I would not look to the U.S. Constitution, which has its own problems, because what it does, quite truly, and I agree with her on this, is it limits government. Well, it shouldn't limit government. It should limit people. And who decides what is greater? Leftists believe that government is greater than God. God should not be appearing in the equation whatsoever. Government must be replaced by God. Just as Karl Marx said, if you're a true communist, the first thing you want to make sure that you eliminate is, in fact, religion, what they quantified as the opiate of the masses. This is, in fact, part and parcel of how it is that we got here today. Now I'm going to play another cut, which clearly illustrates, you see where I went with education and where I went with globalists. And then when you argue before SCOTUS, this is the argument that a dimwit created in a government school atmo brings to SCOTUS. And this is an argument before Sam Alito and an ACLU attorney. And I don't want to corrupt it. Let's just put it up here and listen to the argument that they're trying to make when they can't even agree. She, the ACLU attorney, can't even agree to a definition of terms that she wants to lock in on her end, and then Alito corners her by, well, let's just play. Listen.
Girls.
Yes, Your Honor.
If it does that, then is it not necessary for there to be, for equal protection purposes, if that is challenged under the Equal Protection Clause, an understanding of what it means to be a boy or a girl or a man or a woman?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what is that definition for equal protection purposes? What does it mean to be a boy or a girl or a man or a woman?
Okay, stop right here. Do you remember when Ketanji was kind of nailed on this? And she wanted to be a SCOTUS jurist. And she's, I don't know, perhaps the intelligent efficacy of a potted ficus on a good day. She's in kind of Hank Johnson territory. I know hubcaps that are more intelligent than her, but she refused to define a man or a woman. 5-year-olds know what a vajayjay is and know what a penis is. And now, having set that foundation, continue.
Sorry, I misunderstood your question. I think that the underlying enactment, whatever it was, the policy, the law, we'd have to have an understanding of how the state or the government was just understanding that term to figure out whether or not someone was excluded. We do not have a definition for the court.
Okay, let me go back. I want you to hear this. This is an alleged educated individual who is making an argument in front of the court, in front of the Supreme Court of the United States. Go.
Excluded. We do not have a definition for the court. And we don't take issue with we're not disputing the definition here. What we're saying is that the way it applies.
We don't have a definition for the court, but we're not disputing the definition when in fact the definition of man and woman is critical to this case.
In practice is to exclude birth sex males categorically from women's teams, and that there's a subset of those birth.
Now, do you see where this is going? Excluding males from teams. Oh, you mean trannies. Oh, you mean people that are mentally defective, born with dicks, that think they need to be into women's locker rooms with women because they feel that way.
Sex males where it doesn't make sense to do so according to the state's own interest.
Well, how can a court determine whether there's discrimination on the basis of sex without knowing what sex means?
If I had, wait a minute, I'm going to have to do this myself because I don't have it queued up. That's when I go, tum, tum, tum. And there's the crux of the biscuit right there. How can you have either the gall, the temerity, or the arrogance, the naked, ripe arrogance, the fetid stench to come before SCOTUS and attempt to make an argument revolving around men and women when you completely want to disregard that, unless the issue revolves around men who think they're women. Make it make sense. I can't make it make sense. And yet here we are in 2026. Those people are making decisions. Those people are arguing before SCOTUS. Those people are attempting to norm mentally defective individuals. In these cases, men who think that, I don't know, maybe they're barking werewolves. Maybe they need a peg leg. Maybe the children need to have their legs removed. If they think they're a pirate. And then we heard from Edward Snowden. At first, I thought Edward Snowden is a massive traitor to this country. I'm sure you have thoughts about Edward Snowden. Anyway, what he's saying is that, hey, look what's coming. Be aware of what's coming. And it's being pushed by the digital age. It's being pushed by globalists. It's being pushed by Bill Gates. It's being pushed by John Kerry. It's being pushed by a host of individuals and China, Communist China? Well, BZ, I'm not sure. I know exactly what you mean. Let's listen.
What they call the social credit system. If any of these family photos, if any of your activities online, if your purchases, if your associations, if your friends are in any way different from what the government or the powers that be of the moment would like them.
The government. Well, who's the government? Politicians. Where did they come from? They were excreted to do precisely this.
To be, you're no longer able to purchase train tickets. You're no longer able to board an airplane. You may not be able to get a passport. You may not be eligible for a job. You might not be able to work for the government. All of these things are increasingly being created and programmed and decided by algorithms. And those algorithms are fueled by precisely the innocent data that our devices are creating all of the time, constantly invisible.
Oh, stop here just for a second. People say AI learns, right? If you're a proponent of AI, those individuals, proponents say that, well, AI has to learn somewhere. So to where and to whom is AI shipped? Do you think AI is centered in the middle or leaning more towards the right? You would be incredibly wrong. And it's AI learning from not this, I would say, slightly left to far left. That's what AI is learning, and that's what people are beginning to accept as the norm. We haven't even begun to understand the extension of AI and where it's going to take us, and how many thousands, hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of people will lose their jobs behind AI. And yet, at the same time, I make this point that Democrats and leftists and globalists are insisting that we bring more illegal invaders, more third world parasitic illegal invaders into our country, when the people who are highly educated, say white collar, their jobs are being eliminated. These are people of low to no skills. And yet they're forcing 20 to 30 million illegal invaders came into just the United States of America under the dementia Biden auto pen regime. Come one, come all. And they came to stay. And they didn't come to donate. They came primarily because they were invited by people who wanted to use them. Well, let's be honest. Democrats and leftists want to use illegal invaders for votes. And so that's going to be an issue of major criticality. And let's be honest, Republicans wanted illegal invaders to come in, also those with ill-educated H-1B backgrounds, to come into the state, to come into the nation and replace Americans. That's a replacement theory. But that's part and parcel of the entire element and series of elements in destroying this nation. And it's the politicians. They are excreted. And it's right. It's always been directly in front of your face. You just need to open up your ossicles and your eyes to see and hear.
Quietly right now. Our devices are casting all of these records that we do not see being created, that in aggregate seem very innocent. You were at Starbucks at this time. You went to the hospital afterwards. You spent a long time at the hospital. After you left the hospital, you made a phone call. You made a phone call to your mother. You talked to her until the middle of the night. The hospital was an oncology clinic. Even if you can't see the content of these communications, the activity records, what the government calls metadata, which they argue they do not need a warrant to collect, tells.
Thank you, Patriot Act, which it was part of what Edward Snowden revealed. The NSA has everything that is digital that you produce. That is why they created and built a facility in Utah that is nothing but a data collection center. They keep it, they have it, and they're lying to you. Oh, no, we don't collect everything. bullshit. The lies are to your face, created and approved by politicians on both sides of the aisle.
Story. And these activity records are being created and shared and collected and intercepted constantly by companies and governments. And ultimately, it means as they sell these, as they trade these, as they make their businesses on the backs of these records, what they are selling is not information. What they are selling is us. They're selling our future. They're selling our past. They are selling our history, our identity, and ultimately, they are stealing our power and making our stories work for them.
What is social media? Who pays for social media? You are social media. You are the product. You are the addicted. You are the one that can't get off your phone. You are the one that cannot get off social media, and that is completely in line with control of you by government. Well, BZ, you wouldn't possibly have some information about that. Well, yes, I would. And that's why you're here tonight, because I bring the evidence. I bring the receipts. And again, if you want to see any of these videos, any of these articles that I bring to you, go to rumble.com, BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon. All the articles and whatnot are all in there. But the government is not working for you. The government is using you. These people out of the slime, out of the sewers that have already been, I guess, prompted and coddled on smaller local politics. And you know, if you're in a city or a town or a county, you damn well know that local politics is primordially every bit as cutthroat as national politics, only they don't quite have yet as much power. That's why they go to DC, because then it is all about power control, which yields money. And again, as I say, there frequently isn't a dime's worth of difference about these people. Cicero is right. That's the theme of the show tonight, because Cicero is absolutely correct on this matter. Let's go to a couple of other things as well, so that I can continue to illustrate for you. Did you wonder, did you have a thought in your brain, May 1st, May Day? What is May Day? Oh, it's the day that we honor labor. Oh, you mean the day that we honor communism? The day that we honor no one will own anything, and you'll be happy as hell. The Commie May Day protests were attended by Marxists who are mostly lazy, entitled. They are low T. They are unmotivated, soy boy, type F, assumptive, minimally employed, and demand a continuous flow of free shit from the American taxpayer, which is you and me. Funny how they can't keep a job because they can go and protest at the drop of a hat, which means that mostly, they're not employed. Uninterested in working for it or at all. Uninterested in discipline, in sacrifice, everything that it takes to create a business. You know, the businesses that they hate. But who employs them if they'll lower themselves, if they're so inclined to actual labor? They demand all the benefits. These people who, and you can see how they were educated, created, fondled, propagandized on an assembly line with no regard for critical thinking in government schools. They demand all the benefits, all the exaggerated paychecks. Who decided that pushing the cheeseburger icon at McDonald's was worth $20 to $30 an hour? Oh, but it's a living wage. If you're a fucking moron and you're still working at McDonald's in your 30s and 40s, see my previous statement. They want all the exaggerated paychecks, SEIU, etc., all the commie-backed organizations, with no interest in making payrolls, no education, no knowledge about what it is that it takes to meet a payroll or to run a business. They have themselves no investment in the business at all. And here's the biggest part. They have no risk. They proffer no risk. Who seeks to make a profit? If you do, okay, cool. Do all businesses make profits? No. But they were type A individuals who wanted to work for themselves, create a business, see who they could employ, and frequently they fail. But here's the huge difference, kids. They took the risk. I mean, do any of the people that want more free shit from government, what kind of a risk are they taking in terms of businesses? Well, they'd rather see businesses eliminated. Just ask Seattle. Just ask Portland. Just ask New York. Blue cities. So who's going to pay for all of this? They want a living wage, and they want a free wage. Some people have said, including Elon Musk, and he's terribly wrong about this, just pay people. Okay, with what? And from whom? So the dealio is these protests were lovingly fomented by the Democrat Socialists of America, the People's Forum, Party for Socialism and Liberation, and the Answer Coalition. Well, hang on, folks. This shit starts to dovetail. Who pays for all of this? Would you be surprised to know that it's a communist? Now, okay, these groups were supported by a $2 billion investment in annual revenue with ties to George Soros. And people go, oh, George Soros. We're so tired of hearing about George Soros. It's me, 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 me. Just like Mr. Beaker. Me, 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 me. George Soros. Yeah, he's part and parcel of all this. And he despises the U.S., who bankrupted the entire Bank of England. Look that up, folks. That's an interesting entry unto itself. That's how he got to be a billionaire. Not creating, but manipulating. But that's okay if George Soros manipulates. We don't want anybody else to do it because he's one of us. He's with us. Okay. Who also was involved in that? A dude named Neville Roy Singham. I've spoken about him before. Not a whole lot, but he's a huge tech investor. People think, oh, he wasn't. Yeah, he was born in the United States. So he is a U.S. citizen because people have said wrongly, oh, he's from India or he's from someplace. No, he's from America. He was born in the United States of America. He provided huge amounts of funding for media outlets, for organizations, and all sorts of politicians around the world. You know, politicians who are excreted, as indicated so lovingly by Cicero, around the world that promote a pro-Chinese government propaganda. Neville Roy Singham doesn't live in the United States, for example. Singham gave $65 million to nonprofit organizations like Code Pink. Code Pink, does that sound familiar somewhere? Well, yeah, it should. You know, Code Pink, that, if you recall, takes the Comchink side on pro-Chinese government propaganda. No problem. He gave $65 million to Code Pink that side with Beijing on genocide allegations. Wait a minute. You know that Singham has a wife? You know what her name is? Jody Evans. Wait a minute. Jody Evans. What does that sound familiar? Oh, that's right. She co-created Code Pink along with him. So Neville Roy Singham now lives in communist China, in Shanghai, using his money on behalf of the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, to take down America. Hey, has anybody on this show ever said something similar to China is our enemy, kids? So these protests, May Day, it's just us expressing our love for the country, for the United Snakes of America. These protests were paid and funded by Communist China for weak-brained, naive, ignorant, uneducated, ill-educated American leftists doing the work of Xi Jinping. You're nothing but useless little commie tools. But no, nobody wants to hear about that. Here's a story that I will put up in there indicating that, hey, here's this guy. Here's what he does. And would it shock you to know that a pro-China tech tycoon, Singham, helped organize New York City's May Day protests, where Kami Mamdani spoke? Communism was a recurring theme as pro-CCP linked groups canvassed the crowd with newspapers and chants at the rally, funded by George Soros, of course, through any number of cutouts, and NGOs, including NGO religious organizations. So that's who paid for all that crap. And I'm sure probably, unless you're in the middle of, you're the man on the Silver Mountain in the middle of nowhere, that you probably had some kind of a protest near you if you live anywhere near a leftist city or town or state or anything of that nature. And that's where it comes from. And that's who these wonderful politicians, that's who they've been supporting all along. Again, the theme of tonight. Now, I want to give props to a gentleman by the name of Gene Baradelli. And Gene is on KLRN. He has a great show on. And he put this together with regard to Mamdani, Kami Mamdani. It's about a minute and a half. Then after this, we'll be taking a break. But I'd like you to see and hear this. This was Gene's creation, if I'm not mistaken. Go.
For those who have watched budget after budget, it is tempting to assume that we are engaging in the same dance as our predecessors. Let me assure you, nothing about this is typical.
The city comptroller Mark Levine painting a grim picture of the city's economic future, reporting that the city lost 38,000 private sector jobs over the last year.
But that's worth crowing about. Look how happy the communists look.
That is not good.
The city's budget gap will now likely be $7.3 billion.
I love me some Kami Muzzy Mamdani, don't you?
Over 2 years, almost $2 billion more than what the mayor's office has been projecting.
You aren't not even close.
New York City faces a budget crisis of a historic magnitude.
Now, isn't this funny? Remember Kami Mamdani, who came back originally and said, I don't need your political contributions. I'm fine. I'm funded well. The second he got into office, give me all your money. More taxes. Give me everything in your pockets. The change in your couch. Do it now.
We inherited a deficit larger than any since the Great Recession. We cannot close this deficit with savings alone. We need new revenue.
What does that mean? We need new revenue. What that means is we're going to tax people.
Beautiful, lovely taxes.
Now that you've bumped up against the hard realities of a $5.4 billion budget shortfall and the other red tape.
Wait for it. Is he going to smile? Of course he's going to smile. He wants to be friendly. Hello, Takya. right in front of your face.
That you have to go through. Do you still believe in democratic socialism? Do you still think it can be effective?
I believe in it even more than I did the day
Look at that smile. What a great kid. Wouldn't you vote for him?
before.
Welcome to the People's Republic of New York, where the dreams get taxed and the buffoons all talk. Red lines stretch from the Bronx to Rockaway, hopes on layaway, and we all pay.
And there we go. That's the first hour. I'm BZ. I hope I come back. I think I will. I feel better. I feel better. I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm not dead yet.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Listen in to the Reaver of Common Sense, where we cut through the noise of news and politics with a show equipped for bombast. Tune in Mondays and Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, and 6 p.m. Pacific, featuring a refreshing dose of reality. Jersey Joe fearlessly tackles the tough topics with no nonsense. Just pure common sense. Visit shrmedia.com, where you can hear the Reaver of Common Sense in action. He may not always be polite. He may not always be refined. But one thing's for sure. He always tells it like it is.
Are you looking for a way to boldly express your faith and love for your country? Then check out Seven Armors, the premier apparel company for patriotic men of God, where faith meets freedom in style. Our t-shirts are more than just clothing, they're statements. Bold, stylish, and meaningful. From timeless messages to modern designs, we've got something for every patriotic man of God. Wear your beliefs proudly with Seven Armors gear. Don't miss the chance to wear your faith and freedom on your sleeve. Visit 7armors.com today and join the movement. That's the number 7armors.com. 7armors.com. Faithful, vigilant, steadfast, passion.
Are you looking for bold, honest conversation about the issues shaping America? Well, let me welcome you to Unleash 101 with Jeremy Hansen, where we take you beyond the headlines. We dive into politics and culture, the struggles of everyday life. It's raw, real, and unfiltered. If you're ready for truth with a punch, pull up a chair and join us. That's right, Unleash 101, where real talk feels like home. Find us at unleashed101.com, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and more. We look forward to seeing you. Unleashed 101 with Jeremy Hansen.
Freedom. One nation in all of human history was built on that bedrock. Ours. A republic of the people, by the people, and for the people. Self-government requires freedom, just as freedom requires an individual willingness to self-govern. Freedom has made America exceptional. But it can only last as long as you and I seek the good, as expressed by the laws of nature and nature's God. It can only last if you and I choose to act as people of character. Forging character has been the pursuit of Hillsdale College since 1844.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And I'm back. It's the end of the first hour and the beginning of the creation, womp, 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 of the second hour. I'm going to do my best to try to linger on, much to the chagrin of a lot of people who are in chat. Damn it, BC, I wish you'd go. Well, oddly enough, that's what I did. I had to make a pit stop. Thank God for promo breaks. And after that, I don't know, maybe I felt a little bit better. I hope you feel better. I hope you have your own imbibation, materialists with us. Includes in here is Liquido. And it's like really heavily refined potato water. My potato water of choice is Kettle One, which is odd because I have a KC 135 Kettle One refueling team. And they refuel me right before every show. And Skol, brother. Thanks for being here tonight. The next video that I want to play for you is the one that I think particularly struck my ire. After watching this, I thought, okay, I know what happened. You will see what happened. But this was all done at the behest of politicians who hate you, who use you, who are excreta, who came out of the filth of local political sewers only to be backed up with their own political filth right there in D.C. Cicero, as I indicated earlier, he's right. Politicians aren't born. They're excreted. So I listened to this video and I thought I was a bit unsettled. I was a bit irate. Well, let's play it and let's get your opinion on this, if we could, please. And my thoughts were, well, before I even play it, my thoughts were when I went to this, and the thoughts are, again, for tonight. And they kind of revolve around, okay, people, actual citizens of the United States of America, how long are you going to tolerate this? How long are you going to, in some cases, intentionally remain blissfully ignorant? How long will you decide that you're going to continue being naive? How long before you must begin prosecuting for treason and insisting upon the penalty for treason? Because if you don't, what's the opportunity? What is remaining? What's left for you to do or decide? Well, listen to this for maybe about 2 minutes.
To be a lab leak.
Okay. Mr. Ray, from the Twitter files, Missouri versus Biden disclosures, the Durham investigation and report, and exposure and collapse of the Russian collusion hoax, the American people fully understand that there is a two-tiered justice system that has been weaponized to persecute people based on their political beliefs.
Stop. I spent all of last Sunday night for 2 hours with myself and Rick Robinson delineating. And if you doubt it, if you know, BZ, do you have the evidence? Yeah, I got a shit ton of evidence and articles and videos about that, about the labeling people who were religious, who went into school board meetings and wanted to opine about how the government was oppressing their children, pushing them into things that should not be pushed on young kids. And they went to express their First Amendment rights, and they were crushed because, you know, they were associated with, the Bible and all the terrible the things that Obama said. I had an entire 2-hour show about that. And if you're so motivated, go see it. But that was under Ray. That was under Biden. It started under Obama. Continue.
And that you have personally worked to weaponize the FBI against conservatives. I asked Mr. Durham about this, to which he answered, I don't think that things...
Okay, I know what people are saying right there, because I can... Oh, but wait, wasn't Ray kind of installed by Trump? For the people who think that, BZ goes along with everything Trump says. Oh, yeah, Trump makes big mistakes sometimes.
Can go too much.
Jeff Sessions, hello.
Further with the view that law enforcement, particularly the FBI or Department of Justice, runs a two-tiered system of justice. The nation can't stand under those circumstances. Director Ray, what are you prepared to do to reform federal law enforcement in a manner which which earns back the trust of the American people.
Well, first off, I would disagree with your characterization of the FBI and certainly your description of my own approach.
Because I'm a political whore. I'll tell you what the FBI is in just a moment. Continue, Director Ray.
The idea that I'm biased against conservatives seems somewhat insane.
What about the memo that came out of Richmond? What about the multiple memos that came out of Richmond? Again, I went through all of that material. Now he's just going to continue lying, and I don't have any interest in that because I'm going to show you other things. That video, will I have it up at Rumble? Of course I will. To show you, and then you can watch it and look at it and view in your stargazing, your immutable, obsequious, purple, and clairvoyant. That's from Steve Martin. Witness. Hey. Look, BZ, what just shuttled up on the side over here? Sometimes this stuff doesn't work. Sometimes the bloom is fading from the rose. Sometimes the people that you expected to march lockstep in line start not to. And then when you can't depend on them, because you always have in the past, Democrats and leftists, when you can no longer depend on them for a certainty, and they begin to make their own independent thoughts and motions and movements. Well, here's 30 seconds of listening to a black chick who said, I'm not buying this crap anymore.
Y'all can call me racist or prejudiced. Quite frankly, I really don't give a damn. There's no reason why I should be walking into a shipping and receiving dock. There's like 8, 9, 10 people that don't speak English at all. They got me over here playing charades. Like, can you call somebody? Yeah, I'm here for a delivery.
Okay, I speak leftist, so I'll talk to her. If she were listening, this is what I would say. You're on the list, honey, to be replaced. And when I said it's not replacement theory, it's replacement reality, oh, damn, look at her. If you're looking on portrait format right now, you might not be able to see that. She is daring to wear a cross, and that is displayed on the front of her blouse. Oh, no. Oh, no. Replacement theory is only for whites. You white supremacist? Well, wait a minute. That means she's Larry Elder, right? She's the black face of white supremacy. And what she's finally realizing is that she is no longer a priority with leftists. Leftists and Democrats have embraced the people that they believe will keep them in power forever via the census, via illegal invaders, via flooding the nation as Biden autopen did 46. And you're about on your way out, sister, because you're an actual American. And you have been proven undependable. Your language, your words right there are proving that you are undependable. Therefore, by dint of leftist and Democrat, bing, I deem you replaceable. Go.
But we got to be bilingual. But y'all ain't got to speak a lick of English.
Huh.
Make it make sense to me. Golly.
It doesn't make sense. It never will. Because you're the one, along with all us white supremacists, that have targets on our back. We want to be replaced. We're going to be replaced by Democrats and leftists and by globalists. And when you say terrible things like that, oh, the sights are on you now. How shocking. So NGOs, let's move over and change a category, because there's so much information in terms of politicians just wanting to get rid of you. You're inconvenient. And where did they come from? You know where they came from. From all the political sewers that originated in your town, and then somebody along the way, or a series of somebodies, elected them and sent them to DC, where they can fuck you over with even greater amounts of efficacy. Well, isn't that what you wanted? You elected them. Isn't that what you want? So, hey, Chuck Schumer, if Republicans pass the Save America Act, millions of people are going to be removed from the voter rolls. Well, like who? Hey, how about illegal invaders? How about 20 to 30 million of them? So, total votes in 2020, just throwing it out there. A couple of stats. Look them up if you don't believe me. Total votes in 2020, 155,508,000. Total votes in 2024, 140,306,000. So where did 15,202,110 votes go? That's over 15 million mail-in ballots. Now, perhaps this is the time where I put one of the few remaining journalists left, John Solomon, on the screen.
I believe that the President of the United States is soon going to be briefed by Tulsi Gabbard and other intelligence officials, based on my reporting, about additional intrusions, significant, large-scale intrusions into various forms of our election system. Now, I'm not talking about getting a machine and flipping the vote, but maybe getting enough of state voter databases that a foreign power could work with people on the ground in the United States to fill out fake registrations for people who are on dirty voter rolls. Those licenses that were sent into Chicago were going to be used to make absentee ballot applications, according to the FBI predicate.
So stop here just for a second. I've wondered about this for quite some time. And if you're smart, you have too, I hope. There's an election board in your county, in your state, in your town, mostly in your county, I would guess. And there aren't rolling elections 365, 24/7, right? I mean, how frequently are elections? How frequently do they occur? Rather infrequently. So what are those people doing otherwise in that amount of time? The first thing that I would be hoping that they would do, but they are not. The proof is in the pudding. I would think that they would be hoping that they would be going and saying, hey, let's start matching lists. Let's look at those people who just voted. Let's look at the people who have indicated that they've moved out of state. Let's look at rolls of people who are dead. Let's see if we can try to reconcile those rolls and clean our voter rolls. And so why is it that you think that those voter rolls don't want to be submitted to the DOJ or any other government agency under 47 right now, including red states? Red states have refused, red counties have refused to turn over voter rolls. I don't give a shit what color you are. They need to be cleaned. So both sides play with dirt.
By the way, Chris Wray's FBI didn't look at that. They shut it down. If a foreign power was that far into the election databases of state systems that they could figure out what driver's licenses to send here, the next question becomes, who were they working with on the ground? Who was going to file those ballot requests? I think that's why Tulsi Gabbard was down in Georgia, why you might see her in Arizona, why the FBI will probably be in Arizona, and why the president's about to get a briefing. And all of this new information could have a profound effect on the Save America Act, which is...
Now, he mentioned Tulsi Gabbard. I'm thinking you wouldn't be shocked if I had some information and or video with regard to Tulsi Gabbard. You would expect that, wouldn't you?
All right, some people say it feels like we're doing an awful lot. There's not a real problem. These next revelations, if the president were to declassify them after he gets debriefed on them in the next few days, they could educate senators and House members and give them a greater inspiration to maybe go ahead and do the voter ID and the citizenship check. That is a big moment. Tulsi Gabbard and Kash Patel and Pam Bondi are driving this. It's been below the radar. but they're doing some really big stuff. Now,
okay, now Pam Bondi has since gone, as we all know, and that was an issue that she created herself. That's not an issue that I'm going to address tonight. Am I depressed that Pam Bondi is gone? No, I am not. That doesn't depress me in the slightest. But then again, this is part and parcel of who's creating all this crap. Where did that originate? What are we to do, knowing all of this information? So next, Obama ordered a fabricated ICA using Hillary Clinton's funded fake dossier as a weapon, waging war on a sitting president. Now, I'm going to tell you what I tell you probably every show, because it's true then, true in 2016, true in 2017, true in every show that I do. Since 2016, there has been a clear and obvious soft coup against a presidential candidate, a presidential nominee, a president-elect, and a sitting president, which then on occasion turned into a hard coup, as in President Trump could very well have been killed on live TV by an assassin. Well, geez, BZ, what is that? That really doesn't count, does it? Nah. Okay. How? Waging war via that soft coup on a president involved in that, under 45, a break for 46, and back under 47. It was an attack on you and me, the Constitution, the American people, through lies and spying and corruption and deceit and lawfare. Democrats and leftists tried to steal 2016. That was Hillary Clinton's. She was due, she'd said any number of times, it's my turn. To my knowledge, elections don't revolve around it's my turn. Okay, so they tried to steal 2016. They ran a coup on American soil. They trafficked, okay, come on, wake up. Tush, tush, tush. Democrats and leftists. They trafficked children. They stole our taxpayer dollars. Oh my God, NGOs, Doge, all the things that were revealed under that. Then they stole the 2020 election, which actually I believe ended up being a good thing, at least for Trump. Tried to assassinate him 3 times with weapons. 1 time, not an active weapon. And now it's time to nail these asswipes to the wall. Let's listen.
President Obama ordered a manufactured intelligence assessment in order to ultimately enact what would be a years-long coup against Donald Trump, using this document that, again, did not reflect the intelligence community's overall assessments leading up to the election. And it was used as a foundation to be able to undermine the legitimacy of President Trump's election and everything that came after. President Obama ordered the intelligence community to put together the January 27th.
Stop. What is Obama? Oh, that's right. He's a politician. How did he get there? Oh, the E word.
Intelligence community assessment that basically came to the conclusion that Putin, Russia, had tried to influence and impact the outcome of the election in favor of Donald Trump. The real...
Stop here for a second. I just want to inject this for a moment. What was one of the first things, if you recall, and most don't because most are not interested, what's one of the first things that President Trump, 45, did once coming into office? Oh, that's right. He sent cruise missiles to Syria. Who was in Syria at the time? Oh, that's right. It was Assad. Who did Assad love? Who was he aligned with? That's right, Russia. Under what? Putin? Yeah. Oh, but Putin loves Trump, and all Democrats and leftists know that. Well, then he sent a ton of cruise missiles over to Syria and ended up killing, Syrians, right, because that's the point, and Russians. That was the first act of Trump because he's Putin's puppet.
Headline here is that the months leading up to the 2016 election, remember this was Donald Trump running against Hillary Clinton, the intelligence community consistently assessed over and over again that Russia had neither the intent nor the capability to impact the outcome of the U.S. election. And that's a real...
Who did, though? Oh, that's right. Social media.
Really important point here, because in early December, after Donald Trump was elected, after he defeated Hillary Clinton in that historic election, President Obama called together a meeting.
Here's where it gets interesting, kids.
Of his National Security Council leadership. This was people like CIA Director John Brennan.
Liar and a communist. By the way, you did know, of course, John Brennan was a registered communist. Right?
Then Obama's Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, Susan Rice, Andy McCabe.
Usual suspects.
And many others on his senior cabinet national security team. What came out from that meeting was ultimately, and this is all documented, direction from President Obama to his team.
A politician.
To create an intelligence community assessment that detailed how Moscow meddled in the U.S. election in favor of Donald Trump. The key point here is not if Moscow meddled, it was how. And this is where a lot of the mainstream media right now who are reporting and repeating the Russia hoax lie over and over again for
still in 2026, repeating that bullshit.
Years are refusing to address this key point. Is the document that the intelligence community created that was published in January of 2017 contradicted the other assessments that the intelligence community provided in the months leading up to the election, including the days leading after the election, by stating very clearly and with high confidence, which is a big deal coming from the intelligence community, that Putin intervened in the 2016 election to help Donald Trump get elected.
Stop. A lie, a bald lie, a naked lie. And Obama is, of course, this guy. He has always been this guy. Has he ever had a business? No. Has he ever had to meet a payroll? No. Has he ever had a job of any consequence other than, I don't know, let's see, community organizer? There's a massive demand for that, as we well know. Let's go forward just a little bit to Mar-a-Lago, if we will. And what happened is the FBI's own records basically say that, well, there wasn't any probable cause. What's your PC to go in and make the raid on Mar-a-Lago? So Biden's DOJ, under Merrick Garland, decided, well, they were just going to go and do it anyway. It's a fishing expedition, and we're going to do it because we can. And so Judicial Watch had and got some information revealed that is similar to this. On July 13th, 2022, an email, agents begged the DOJ to cooperate with Trump's counsel instead of staging the unprecedented August 8th raid. Biden's Justice Department rebuffed them and weaponized the warrant anyway. This is exactly what happened to FISA in the FISA court. This was never about classified documents. It was just lawfare. And let's listen.
So as the release says here, we obtained the 207 pages of those FBI records that, so as the release says here, we obtained the 207 pages of those FBI records that, and the headline is, they were concerned that there was no probable cause to raid the home of President Trump at Mar-a-Lago. I'll say it one more time. No probable cause. that means there was no good faith reason to raid his home.
Let's see, since 2016, a soft coup against a presidential candidate. Yeah. Presidential nominee. Correct. President-elect. Correct. Sitting president.
And nonetheless, the Biden gang at the Justice Department, with the acquiescence, obviously, of FBI leadership in the end, because that's the way it technically or practically has to work, raided his home in an unprecedented fashion, and the abuses have reverberated through our national consciousness since then.
Quite true. Folks, I'm going to take a break. I'm BZ. I suggest you take a break as well. And I'm pretty sure that I'm going to make it for the entire show. For everybody who has been here tonight, thank you ever so kindly for being in chat, for watching, and also for watching and listening in podcast later on. Be right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Mission log. Intrigue. I mean, let's face it, who's even counting anymore? The Lost Wanderer is officially off course, chasing rogue rocket launches, fringe science, and things that probably violate causality. If it burns fuel, bends time, or makes scientists very uncomfortable, yeah, I'm probably going to talk about it. Every other Sunday on KLRN Radio, The Lost Wanderer, because space doesn't come with a roadmap, and honestly, I wouldn't follow if it did.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism, so common today, is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Hey fellas, are you mission ready? You need to check out Mission Ready Men via Earl Big E Jackson on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Central, and noon Eastern. It's a show that equips you to navigate our society's challenges from a biblical perspective with courage and conviction. Tune into Mission Ready Men as we examine our culture through the prism of biblical truths, teachings, and how to apply them in our daily lives. Prepare to step up, stand out, and step into your role as a man as ordained by God. That's Mission Ready Men, hosted by Earl Jackson on the SHR Media Network. And get mission ready.
Want to make an immediate difference in the life of a critically ill child? You have the ability to do that right now. Make a donation to Dream Makers for Life, the organization that restores dreams to seriously ill children and their families. You can sponsor a dream pack for a child, which contains a clear PVC backpack, a dry erase board adventure coloring book, a journal, and dry erase markers to inspire a critically ill child to envision a future adventure and hope. Want to become a dream maker for life yourself? Go to dreamforlife.org. That's dreamforlife.org. Help a child. Help a family. There is always hope.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
It's the last half hour of the show. I have managed to make it through. It is 9:34 Pacific. It is 11:34 Central. And it is midnight 0:34 on the far East Coast. Tonight, the show is about, hey, how do politicians get here? Oh, we know now. That's right. Just like Cicero said. And Cicero, where did he get this insight? This guy from Rome, this funny, odd guy with the name of a town in Illinois. Well, which came first, the town or the Roman? I think you guys have a pretty good idea about that. We're going to go to the FBI because you've been hearing a lot about the FBI to this point. And if you know anything about good old BZ, you know that what he says is, you know what? I think it's, by the way, if you haven't already figured it out, it's time for alcohol. It is, what is it right now?
Folks, this is BZ's final hour. Step up.
That's
Last
right.
call for alcohol.
And then, at the end, as the show closes, you're free to do whatever the hell you want. I have potato water. What do you have? Brown liquid? Bourbon? Whiskey? Beer? What do you have? I used to work for the FBI a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. And I said most recently, but particularly since 2016, you know what the FBI are? They, and I send this out in social media all the time. The FBI are the weaponized arm of the DNC and leftists. They are a corrupt, anti-American terrorist organization. Hey, BZ, that's so bad to say. What's the definition of terrorism? The rote definition of terrorism. Why? That would be the unlawful use of violence and intimidation, especially against civilians and citizens in the pursuit of political aims. Definition, meet organization, shake hands and come out fighting at midnight with 9mm, or in the case of the FBI, a very bad decision, 10mm. And then this occurred. This is so bizarre to me. There's a story here, but I'm not sure that we'll ever really know or understand this story. And that's this. So Dan Bongino says that he's afraid that he's going to be sent to a federal prison after being with the FBI for a year. He says rivals are going to weaponize the justice system if Republicans lose the next election. Will Republicans lose the next election? At this point, it depends who you talk to. A lot of people are saying, well, yeah, because Republicans generally lose in an off year. And the off year generally goes, the midterms go to the opposite camp. And then there are other people who are saying, these nutwagons are so fucking insane that they don't get it. What's the deal with that? How can they, what is going on? And it's like, oh God. It's like Bernie Frank said originally, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, Democrats, you better get your shit together and not quite be so insane, because now, because of that, it appears that it's not entirely impossible that you could lose in the off-season midterms, as in, what the hair? What the hair is going on? So the whole thing with Dan Bongino was just weird. Occasionally you make some weird appointments. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you feel like a nut. Sometimes you don't. Almond Joy's got nuts. Mounds don't. But Dan Bongino is saying, well, I'm fearing for what it is that apparently I discovered while I was there. But then he falls back on that, well, I can't tell you about it because if I told you about it, I guess I'd have to kill you. Well, the deal about that is that James Comey never planned on this stuff coming out and being revealed.
Infiltrate President Trump's first campaign by using 2 undercover agents in a so-called honeypot operation.
Incredible.
Todd Pyro joins us with details. Todd.
This is big. Under the leadership of new FBI Director Kash Patel and Deputy Director Dan Bongino, the Bureau has reportedly launched an investigation into the agency's plan to infiltrate President Trump's first campaign using 2 female undercover agents. The Washington Times reporting that the program was launched in 2015.
Oh, wait. Do you hear? Because Democrats and leftists are right now saying, BZ, you are so full of shit. You are so. Get the evidence. Get the receipts. Did you hear where this comes from? Your very own beloved Washington Times.
By then FBI Director James Comey. The honeypot scheme was actually kept off the books. And according to a whistleblower, Comey's investigation was separate from Crossfire Hurricane. You, of course, know that as the FBI's operation that looked into allegations Trump's campaign colluded with Russia. A whistleblower disclosure says, quote, the case had no predicated foundation. So Comey personally directed the investigation without creating an official case file in Sentinel or any other FBI system.
Stop. Well, who appointed Comey and for what reason? Well, that's right. It's a politician.
The FBI has multiple methods of protecting highly sensitive investigations, so Comey did not have a legitimate reason not to officially create an official investigation file or have a file number.
I'm going to speak out of turn right now. If you're conducting an actual accurate FBI investigation, customarily you have a pre-investigation to decide whether or not a full budgeted investigation itself is warranted. Sometimes, depending on who is running the show, under which assistant director, which AD, sometimes you can just do away with that little preliminary investigation because that's kind of wonky and we don't want to know anything about that. We're just going to use our political bias and get right to them. By the way, did I tell you that the FBI is nothing more than the weaponized arm of the DNC and leftists, a corrupt anti-American terrorist organization? I seem to recall that recently. What is the definition of terrorism? BZ, if I'm not mistaken, I think you recently said that it's the unlawful use of violence and intimidation, especially against citizens and civilians in the pursuit of political aims. Well, that doesn't apply to the FBI at all. I wish you'd get off your damn high horse. Hey, here's something else that was revealed that I haven't heard on any other show. And like I say, I provide you more information in 2 hours than a week of other sources. But hey, if you've heard this next story, tell me about it. Hey, remember how Pencil Nick Adam Schiff was such a pain in the ass? And he kept saying, I have evidence, I have evidence, I have evidence against Trump. And people that actually cared about that said, okay, like me, I said, provide the evidence. Let's see it. You got the evidence. Let's see the evidence. No mention whatsoever. I wonder why Adam Schiff was in on it. I wonder, in order to trot this crap out to the American public, aided and abetted by the American media maggots, let's see. I wonder, was there some kind of a quid pro quo provided? Well, maybe there was. Maybe I have some video about that you can watch. Maybe I have a document that shows exactly that. Let's listen first.
You, Congressman, the president personally attacked you yesterday at a conservative political action summit, and he balked at specifically the broadening of the investigation into his finances. Can you clarify exactly what Democrats are looking for here? Is it his tax returns?
Well, I'm not surprised the president has balked at Congress looking into his personal business, something he's tried to draw a red line around. But we have seen from our own investigation.
By the way, I'm curious, is there any law that says a president must reveal their tax returns? Bueller? Anyone? No, there isn't.
As well as the special counsels, just how perilous it would be for the country if we ignored or allowed him to draw red lines. The Moscow Trump Tower deal, for example, is among the most disturbing, because that's something the president was pursuing throughout the midst of the presidential campaign, while saying he was having no business dealings with the Russians. That was a deal that stood to make him more money than any other deal in his life. And it was a deal where he was pursuing help from the Kremlin, from Putin himself, at a time when Putin was seeking relief from sanctions. And
okay, this is what I said. These are naked allegations without proof, without evidence, zero evidence, none provided, none seen. Trump is a pedophile. Okay, let's see the evidence. Let's see the video. Let's see the receipts. Let's see the documents. Let's see anything that anybody had on President Trump. Like I've said before, probably will say for the rest of my scabby little life, is the absence of something is frequently as important as the presence of something, if not more so. As in the absence of evidence that Adam Schiff has made, claims that he has made. Where's your evidence, Adam? Where is it?
And that is the most compromising circumstance that I can imagine.
By the way, Russia calls that kompromat, duvarage.
So we are certainly looking deep into the set of issues around Moscow Trump Tower. We're also looking at persistent allegations that the Russians have been laundering money through the Trump organization.
Right. Okay. Well, let's stand that. Let's put this up right here. Federal Bureau of Investigation. Now, the words are going to be too dinklet for the people in portrait mode right now, but I'll put this up. You can read it later. I'll put the link so you can read it for yourself at your leisure. Was there quid pro quo for Adam Schiff to get on board and do whatever he was told? Well, as a matter of fact, yes, there was. From this memo, if Hillary Clinton was offered or won the election, Representative Adam Schiff, D of California, would be offered the position of the director of the Central Intelligence Agency. So, as opposed to everybody working for the weekend, Adam Schiff Pencilneck was working for, hey, I need a nice important appointment where I can really screw with people, where I can really screw with conservatives and Republicans. Well, we're talking about the FBI, are we not? 9 minutes left. No, 11 minutes left. I can make this. I can squeeze probably another 2 articles in. Because tonight, as I indicated, we're talking about this. Politicians are excreted. And that's where they came from, the sewer. In the sewers of D.C., and that's where they emerged. And it's Cicero who said that. Not the town, but the Roman dude. And New York Post columnist Miranda Devine, another person that I will read. The old Twitter leadership worked with the FBI. Hey, remember when I told you a long time ago that BZ got kicked off Twitter? Yeah, BZ got kicked off Twitter because he retweeted something that was the truth, that the New York Post had published about the actual existence of the Hunter Biden laptop. Why did they get kicked off? Who said that they need to get in there and make an influence in social media? The Twitter leadership ended up working super close with the FBI to make sure that they suppressed the Hunter Biden files and the laptop story. Oh, wait a minute. Government isn't supposed to intervene or interfere with the truth, are they? That every link, including mine and anybody else that was derezzed, had their asses derezzed off of any social media, particularly Twitter, like myself, is these social media areas, Facebook, Twitter, now X, were told and then complied by classifying all links to that story as child porn to make sure that it couldn't be shared. What was occurring there at the time? Oh, that's right. There was an election during that. So wait a minute. Are you saying the FBI a terrorist organization helped to throttle and interfere with an election? Yes. Yes. Like people say, I was blacklisted. And all sorts of other people were blacklisted.
What did you
too.
expect to happen?
We published at 5 a.m. By like 7 a.m. latest. It was completely blacklisted on Twitter. In 2 hours, it was classified as child porn internally. If you like sent it in a private, like if I DM'd you privately, the link, it would disable as it would if you were
privately. Oh, they affected you on every level.
Sending something criminal. The reason why it was so immediate and so severe was because the FBI was briefing Twitter executives on a story that might publish around the election about Hunter.
And that is
around the election. Hey, that's weird, BZ. Isn't that what I said? Yeah, that's exactly what I said.
Is because they had it.
Yeah, they had it. The FBI had the laptop.
How long did they have it?
Months. They had it from before the first impeachment, which was in January, before COVID.
What did you expect to happen?
They knew it. The FBI is a terrorist organization, and they also put their finger on the scales of the election. Well, who made the appointments to all of that? Folks, as far as I'm concerned, you can't hate politicians enough. You can't hate them enough because, oh hell, they hate you even worse. And especially when they have money, power. Now, Dan Bongino said that intelligence was hidden by the public. And because I like John Solomon, and I think he's one of the few remaining actual journalists left, let's listen to what he has to say.
Now we have a bunch of lazy senators who want to threaten the filibuster and not get off their feet and talk and really represent the people and stand for what they believe in. And all the American people are asking John Thune to do is to restore the Senate to the way it used to work before Mitch McConnell's lazy filibuster ideas kind of came into play. And I think that...
And this is John Solomon, by the way, on Dan Bongino. Something stinks, something smells with Dan Bongino. I don't know what it is. I don't know if we will ever know. I don't think that I can really trust Dan Bongino anymore. Just putting it out there, just throwing it up into the ozone, just saying.
The American people are going to be there. Here's what I think is going to happen, Dan, and I think you probably know some of this because you had a foresight into some of the things that the Bureau now knows that was kept from the American public. I think Donald Trump is going to change the narrative in America. I think he's going to change some senators' minds, and he's going to do it by revealing some of the things that Chris Wray and that Chris Krebs and other major officials who were in charge of the integrity of our elections and who told us it was a perfect election in 2020, he's going to start revealing some of the intelligence that was kept from the American people. And we're going to see that our foreign adversaries have monkeyed with our system more than we knew, more than those driver's licenses coming into Chicago that you helped get all of us to understand about a few months ago, about China sending fake driver's licenses to help Joe Biden in. There are going to be significant efforts by foreign powers, some friends, some enemies, that were trying to meddle in the system, and they got pretty far down that path. And I think when senators realized their state could have been targeted, when senators realized that the intention of the identities of some of the voters might have been assumed, I think there's going to be a different debate in America. I think.
Stop right now. I play this so that you have an idea of what's actually occurring in the background. And I play this so that you are an informed American. And I play these things, and you can go to Rumble and look at all the evidence that I put up, because that's why I put it there. Because in all the chats of SHR shows, well, show me the evidence, show me the files, show me the articles, videos, blah, blah, blah. Well, I don't make this shit up. As I've said, almost every show. You know, I don't make anything up because I don't need to. All I do as a fat little old dude, an ancient dude, formerly hairy, still has a beard. All I do is I go on the internet and I bring you the articles and the videos to you. Anybody can go on the internet. Even I know how to do that. And I show you the stuff that the American media maggots choose not to show you. And I show this to you because that's what I do. That's what I enjoy. And I also use this show as an archive of sorts for me, so that I can remember what was occurring around these times, and also as future reference points, because I may reference something that occurs in the future, and I'll remember, hey, I had a video on that showed this history, and then I use this show as a repository and an archive. Just like I use social media. I don't use social media because I'm looking for friends. I got dogs. I don't need any human friends. So I use social media as platforms for me to remember what to put on my show. Because predominantly, I don't give a shit about friends or followers or any of that crap. I finally have 1,000 followers. Oh, well, you have no, you mean nothing on X. Yeah, I don't give a shit what you think about me on X. The problem with all of this, even though I display these things to you, and I say, this is where politicians come from. The point tonight is, okay, what are the consequences of all of this? Do we see any consequences? Do you see any consequences? What's that smell, Lassie? Timmy down the well? No. Lassie smells no consequences to any of this. So it's like I've said before, and it was the first hour, I believe, where I said, you, and I'm talking to you right there, how long are you going to tolerate this stuff? How long are you going to keep supporting the Democrats? How long are you going to keep supporting the rhinos? Because when the condemnation continues uninterrupted and the spice continues to flow, well, that's nothing but encouragement to all these fuck nozzles in DC, groomed and petted as they were in their small little venues in towns because they had visions of sugar plums and corruption dancing through their heads. And then they decided, well, I could make a hell of a lot more money if I would just take this pony show, this song and dance over to DC. Because I'm going to end the show, I think, with this. Why do they do this? It's money. Running for office requires money. Money is the mother's milk. Money is the spice that must keep flowing. And so what else occurs while they're there? Oh, the lobbyists. The lobbyists have constant access and influence to lawmakers. And what do lobbyists do? They pay them under the table and give them free shit. And then what else happens? Also with the military, I should say, the high-ranking generals, Austin, Milley, etc. It's just a big revolving door because the politicians come in, and while they're doing whatever it is that you think they should be doing or are doing behind your back, they're also grooming their future to make sure that they can get those lovely future lucrative jobs with consulting firms or defense contractors or pharmaceutical companies whose bills they promoted themselves, both sides of the aisle. And so what else is cool about it? Well, you're treated like perfumed princes and princesses. You're hustled around in limousines. You're made to think that you're somebody. You're a big person. You're a big boy. You're a big girl. I mean something. That's power. And in conjunction with low to zero accountability for your actions. Now, what do cops, what have they had removed from them? Any form, pretty much, of credible immunity. Well, you do know, of course, that politicians suffer zero immunity whatsoever. Excuse me. They have complete immunity, as opposed to cops who, if they're lucky on a good day, have qualified immunity. Politicians have complete and total immunity from everything, period. End of statement. They can do anything, say anything they want, and they will never suffer any consequences. And that's why, again, you see ass whores like this, because Cicero was correct. And do you not think anywhere that this will happen? Perish the thought. I wouldn't want it to happen. I'm not advocating for it to happen. I'm just wondering, how long can we continue on this path?
Mein Schlaf has been locked.
So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I made it the full 2 hours. I feel a little bit better. I hope you do too. Thanks for listening to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct tonight on the SHR Media Network, the SHR Media YouTube channel, KLRN, and all sorts of bulbous podcast locales all throughout the Boneyard Land. As I customarily say, I have promotional consideration. Is by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, by Shure and Electro Voice microphones, by Arrakis boards, the people that manufacture the mixer that I'm using for this show right now, and also by Pratt & Whitney Engines, the company producing dependable engines whose thrust you can trust. Tiaras tonight are by My Little Pony. And so thanks also to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team, with whom I shall be consorting in less than 10 minutes. You can bank on that, kids. Thanks to all of you tonight. Be back on Thursday. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. To one and all, God bless. Take care. Be safe.
Everybody quiet down now. Get some sleep. Good night, everybody. Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben. Good night, everyone. Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy. Good night, children. Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night,
Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, and good luck.
Folks, remember, and good night.